So for as long as I can remember, when I have recorded my guitars, I've used, physical cabs mic'd up with SM57s. But recently I've started to, thought about my workflow, because there have been parts of my workflow that I feel take a lot of time and energy that is unnecessary if I kind of think through my whole workflow and optimize it. So as you can see here, I kind of moved things around to kind of solve this problem. And one thing that I've done, which is a quite major thing, is to consider to use cab simulators. And the first thing I started to do then is consider what kind of attenuators are there out there with good cab simulators. And one thing that comes to mind for me immediately was the Oxbox, but the price of that is pretty much the same as the amp head and cab that I'm using, and I would need two of those. So it would be like buying two amp heads and the two cabs that I already have again. And that is kind of rough, to be honest. So then I thought maybe I could plug in my amp heads directly into the sound card and then use an cab simulator plugin in Logic. So then I went to Instagram to ask for some advice on this, and then I got two great responses from Will Galuccio and Mick Kravis, which suggested the cab simulators from TuneNote. And I was aware of that TuneNote have the Tornado Captor X, but I wasn't aware that you can actually get just the cab simulators without the actual physical unit. So I downloaded a trial version of that and fooled around with it, and I really thought I got some interesting results. So eventually I bought cab simulators with vintage 30s, which is the speakers I have always been using, and then with G12T75s, because that is what John used, and that gave me actually a cab for free. So then I chose the greenbacks because I've always been interested in those, because I think those have sounded really good in demos that I have checked out. And the price of this was just 20 euros, which I think was really, really worth it. So now what I will do is to always obviously play with my physical amp heads, the Plexi and the Silvery Blee, as always. But first I will play with physical cabs, pretty much the setup I have always used, so mic'd up with SM57s. And then I will use amp simulators, so first the vintage 30s and then the G12T 75s. And I will play through three different contexts, so first with the neck pickup, then with the bridge pickup, and then we will see how well these take the DS2. Okay, so I think we can hear a really clear difference between these three options, and it's kind of hard to describe the sound and what I think, but I guess one way to put it is that it feels like, you know, the physical cab version is kind of all over the place in terms of, you know, the sound spectrum or whatever you want to call it, while the cab centimeters feels like more focused and more sharp. So it feels like the physical cab version is more of a live Frusciante sound, while the cab centimeters is more of a studio Frusciante sound. I also want to add that I really like the control I got with the cab simulators, because it isn't like you just choose a cab and then you're done. You know, there are so many different parameters you can play around with, and all of them affects the sound quite a lot. So my plan from now on is to start to gradually use these cab simulators more and more, and play around with the parameters and see what I like and see what I like to use more. And I should also say that, you know, in this demo here, I haven't really done any mixing to the tracks, so it's pretty much just the raw sound, because the focus in this video was just to make the comparison, so you get an idea what you have to work with in your mixing and mastering process. So yeah, that is everything for this video, and now I'm really curious about your opinion on this, because like I said, I think you can really hear a large difference, so that makes your input really interesting. And also please leave a like for the algorithm, and I see you in the next one.